So a new study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science looked at the impact that having been adopted into a better family would have on a child's intelligence. There have been past studies on the subject which have suggested that being adopted into a better environment can significantly increase a child's IQ, but such studies have been limited in the first place because they tended to have very low sample sizes, and in the second place because the children's IQs tended to be measured at a low age. Being measured at a low age is problematic because the heritability of IQ is well known to increase with age, so that even if home environment had a significant impact on IQ at a young age, it might not at an older age. Behavioral geneticists have also traditionally been very skeptical of the role that home environment would have on a variable like IQ because of studies showing that the IQ of an adoptive parent does not predict the IQ of the child that they adopt, as well as the finding that two siblings raised in the same adoptive home tend not to be much more similar to each other in terms of IQ than two children picked at random from the population. This new study significantly improved on the limitations of past studies. So it looked at data from 2,500, roughly, siblings and half-siblings from Sweden. And these siblings were all born between the years 1955 and 1990. The IQ test came from the intelligence test done during the process of military conscription, which all Swedish males have to go through at the age of 18. They also had data on the educational attainment of each of the parents. So what they found in the first place was that the IQ of the adopted children was higher by 3 to 4 points than the IQ of the children who were reared at home, at their biological home. This is in part explained by the fact that the educational attainment was higher among adoptive parents than among biological parents. And this is because in Sweden they have a much larger demand to adopt children than they have a supply of children to actually adopt. And so because of this, Sweden can be very restrictive about who they let and do not let adopt children. And as I said before, the educational level of the adopted parents was higher than the educational level of the biological parents, but it's worth noting that even after controlling for that, there was still an IQ advantage to the adopted siblings. And this is likely because of other variables in terms of which the adopted parents could provide a superior home environment. Again, owing to Sweden's very restrictive policies about who they let adopt children. Now, perhaps the most significant finding of this study is that the educational attainment of biological and adopted parents predicted the IQ of children equally well, suggesting a roughly equal influence for these two variables even at the age of 18. Further strengthening the case for a causal relationship between parental education and IQ is the fact that when you looked at those cases when biological parents had a higher level of educational attainment than adopted parents did, the IQ gains for adopted siblings either disappeared and reversed or became very small, almost negligible. Thus, this study provides powerful evidence for the view that home environment variables, and especially parental education, do have a causal impact on the intelligence of the children who are raised in those homes, even when they're adults, which suggests that home environment might explain a significant proportion of the variance in IQ, and also makes it more plausible that home environment variables explain some of the group differences that are seen in intelligence.